Well, you're gonna have to excuse me because I can't really walk. I have a scar on my foot, so that's gonna be it.
Was not from a cigarette butt or marijuana.
Or marijuana.
Or marijuana butt.
What if I told you guys that we have the ability for economic rehabilitation? It sounds amazing. There would be more jobs, less crime, and there would be more money for us to spend, and there would be more money within the country. The legalization of marijuana can help us solve all of these problems and can even help with the decrease in the medical standpoint. So it can help with the decrease in diseases, and it can help also recreationally. It can also help rebuild an economic standpoint. I actually suffer from anxieties, and I refuse to be pumped with synthetic drugs. I would rather have a plant that comes straight from the earth, that's natural, that has no chemicals piped into it. I'd rather smoke or ingest or do anything like that than have a chemically designed drug synthetically help me. So today I'm here to help you guys understand the benefits of medical marijuana. And before I start with all of the medical standpoints of it, I'm going to first start and say that marijuana is produced naturally within your own body. So it helps regulate pleasure, memory, thinking, concentration, body movement, awareness of time, appetite, pain, and it actually helps regulate all 5 senses. In medical marijuana, there's 2 types of cannabinoids, which are the extracts from the full form of the cannabis plant, THC and CBD. The 2 differences, or the main differences between THC and CBD are THC is what you commonly hear, and that is the mind-altering drug effect of cannabis, but that also increases appetites, reduces nausea, and decreases pain, inflammation, and muscle control problems, where CBD does not affect your mind or behavior, but it reduces pain, inflammation, and possibly can treat medical illnesses or mental illnesses. The FDA has already approved 2 drugs that contain THC, Droneoblind and Novoline, which help reduce cancerous cells. It actually helps reduce the size of cancer cells, and it can help reduce the nausea caused by chemotherapy, along with reducing the tumorous cancer cells. Cannabis can also help with eating disorders. A few of my friends have actually suffered, unfortunately, from eating disorders, and the only thing that's helped them look at food and help them actually eat and gain their appetite back would be cannabis. It also helps the fact that, like I said before, synthetic drugs aren't the best things for you. When there's natural plants that help with the same things that synthetic drugs can do. So that's the medical standpoint of medical marijuana.
You have your body next, right from your opening, then you can go into your body. See, it's 3 minutes and then the 5 minutes.
That's what I did.
How many minutes was that total?
That was 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Alright, so then we did how crime has decreased. Property crime has gone down 14.6% since it became legalized. The homicides have went down, in Colorado. Homicide rates didn't leave single digits. They went from 17 to 18 in a year. That's 66.7%. Robberies went down 7%. Auto break-ins went down from 2,317 to 1,477, which is 36%. Overall violent crimes dropped 10% in 2014. Petty crimes like possession and whatever else people carry around went down 81%. And all arrests dealing with marijuana went down 77% in 2 years in Colorado. And then the economic growth, the first week in sales that it became legal, Colorado made $5 million. The first quarter it made $7.3 million in tax revenue. gave education $8 million to buy new books all throughout the state. The first 3 months of sales grew from 14 million to 19 million. And only 10% of the people who actually voted smoke. All the rest don't. They just believe it should be legal. I don't get hooked. That's what I have.
That's the complete body.
How long is it?
All right, then one of the final points was recreational versus like cigarette tobacco use versus the recreational use of cannabis. According to the American Medical Association, in 2012, marijuana did not hinder lung capacity, it only helps repair the damage from tobacco use. They did a 10-year study from 2002 to 2012. Tobacco users lost up to 50% of their lung capacity, so just take a lung right out of the body. And marijuana users gained actually 15 to 25% of lung capacity. And they said about 27% of them had used tobacco and then switched to marijuana for the use, for the study. And they said the cause, or the one thing that helped was the control deep breaths from the therapeutic drug. So they would have them, just like we do our breathing exercises, but they would do breathing while intake of marijuana. And also hemp is another form. It decreases deforestation because it's used, it's made from paper, so they're not actually using trees as paper, they're using the hemp. And it does last a lot longer than regular paper. I know Mitch can talk a little bit more about that later. And hemp plastic doesn't litter, won't litter as much in the ocean because real plastic won't be there. Hemp lasts so much longer and it's biodegradable. And other things, we had a little thing up on the board. Hemp, you can use rope, shoes, diapers, newsprint. They found an alternative route of fuel out of that. And one thing I'm going to leave you with, July 23rd, 2014, a young girl named Anna Conti she's from Western New York. She suffered hundreds upon hundreds of seizures a day. So her mom pushed to get this law in effect in New York State. They actually passed it, but it won't take effect for another 2.5 years. So they're trying to push it a little bit faster. She suffered from Dravet syndrome. And 2 other kids died within the same month as her in New York State. So it's a little bit closer to home, so they're really hoping to push that law forward so that kids can use this cannabis oil. They either take it by pill or liquid, and they only use 2 milligrams per pound of their body. So it's not that much. It's not like they're ingesting hundreds and hundreds of it, and it's a perfect medical use. So that is our points of arguments there.
Okay. And what was your actual time on that?
4:43.
And that's for both, or was that just for that
That's
second
just for
section?
the second set, so 7:43.
Okay. Okay, so very close, but you can kind of see then how the time is going to go, right? You'll have that 3-minute and then your 4-minute and so forth. Okay, so let us now hear the opposition's perspective.
Okay, so our opponents touched on tax revenue. So based on a state and local tax revenue for alcohol sales in 2010, New York State made $6 billion, which isn't bad. But the budget spent on drunk driving alone cost $132 billion. So our state isn't making money off of alcohol. So I can't imagine what type of new methods are gonna come up for busting pot smokers as far as DUI methods, new breathalyzers. Our 3 main points are legalized gambling and how it relates to other substances, brain development in teens that use marijuana. There was actually a study done, there was actually a statistic. The US finished below average among 34 OECD nations, which is like Portugal, Spain, and the UK. And as far as schooling goes, yet states are still legalizing pot, and these statistics are said to lower throughout the years. Our 3rd main point is there would be a tax increase, and it wouldn't be cost effective to society. And another point our opponent touched on was crime rate. I mean, most people don't know that medical marijuana comes from Mexican cartel-owned farms and hills in California. There are like mom and pop farmers, but most of these are Mexican drug cartels who push marijuana from the hills into the dispensaries. Another argument is that keeping pot out of the hands of adolescents is completely out of the question. Most people who advocate for pot say when it would be legalized that there would be an ID system worked out, there would be an age limit for people who would be smoking, but obviously that wouldn't help. Obviously regulation with age wouldn't help. I know most of you guys in here had a drink before you were 21, so that's obviously out of the question. So without further ado, we're gonna get into our body.
So like Andrew said, our first main point is the legalization of gambling. Even though the government has legalized some aspects of gambling, it doesn't mean that it has stopped the illegal use of gambling. In fact, it has actually increased it. And one of the points that has increased in illegal gambling is sports gambling. And in the United States, we actually have the highest rate of illegal gambling, and that's $500 billion. And 16% of online gambling was done by US college students. And by promoting the legalization of marijuana, it's just gonna promote the illegal use of marijuana, and it's not gonna stop people from using it. And you know, drug suppliers are gonna thrive by selling the stronger marijuana to people through the black market, and they and legal gambling sets the stage for illegal gambling, just the way legal marijuana would set the stage for more illegal use of marijuana trafficking. And the only way to eliminate illegal trade would be to sell marijuana untaxed and unregulated to willing buyers. And with the use of alcohol, there's the prohibition that tried to be banned, and there was still legal use of it. And in 2013, there was a study done, and 88% of high school students had some interaction of illegal use of alcohol. And there are 15.2 million users of marijuana in the world, and compared to the 70.9 tobacco users still with the illegal aspects of it. And making something illegal will not stop the illegal use of it. So the gambling, the alcohol, tobacco, it's all gonna increase it to minors.
So speaking of tobacco and alcohol, although they're legal, they're still underage drinking and smoking of tobacco. Statistics for middle schoolers that have smoked tobacco is 6.7%. As for high school students, it's 23.3%, and these include cigars, cigarettes, hookah, etc. Like the stat before, 88% of high schoolers have used illegal alcohol, and 37 before 8th grade. A Columbia University study showed that 11.4% of all alcohol consumers, all people that consume alcohol in the United States, there was 11.4% of them that made up all of that. So if we legalize marijuana and make it more accessible, teenagers are going to smoke the drug. Therefore, that brings us to our next subject, which is brain development in teenagers that use marijuana. There are short-term effects, such as when you're actually high. The short-term effects are altered senses, no sense of time, there's mood swings, there's paranoia, there's going to be impairment of body movements, which again goes with the drinking under the influence. There's difficulty with thinking and problem solving, as well as impaired memory, which goes to the long term, which is when you're not high, it still affects you. And there's reduction in learning, memory, and thinking. And this affects building connections in these areas. A study showed people started smoking marijuana heavily in their teens, lost an average of 8 points between the ages of 13 and 38, 8 points of their IQ. And the loss of the mental abilities they lost never returned. And with teenagers using marijuana at such a young age, it's going to have a long run for the tax increase in cost effect to society, because with them using marijuana at such a younger age, they're gonna have to go into rehab programs and all of that, and it's gonna affect the worker productivity from the time that they're in school until they're older because of their brain and how it developed, and their performance in school and academics. A study showed that from the Center of Disease Control, the cost of society of alcohol alone is estimated to be more than 15 times the revenue gained by taxation of marijuana. We have to pay more taxes because we're going to have lost productivity in both marijuana taxes because of the illness, and people aren't going to be as effective workers. A couple statistics that we found were recreational marijuana is taxed at $1.50 per gram or $35 an ounce. And the money that could be used for different things like school, law enforcement, drug treatment, and mental health programs is all going towards the taxation of marijuana, when we can be providing more support to the schools, the law enforcement, and the drug treatments for those users who do use marijuana. For the legalization of marijuana, it's going to approximately cost all of the states $3 million annually in just taxes. The revenue of marijuana sales alone would range from $2.4 billion per year if marijuana was taxed like a consumer good, like alcohol or tobacco. And if all of the 50 states were to legalize marijuana, they would rake in more than $3 billion a year in taxes. California right now has the most in legalization of marijuana, and New York State would be in the second if we do legalize it here in New York State, and that would be in $248 million. So it's
Okay. Finish the position sign?
That was 8:45 total.
Okay, so we're close. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going back to the Prime Minister for their rebuttal, unless you guys, it was 8:45, they had what, a minute left, they could do, or 2 minutes? Minute 15?
Okay, and yeah.
Did you guys want to do rebuttal of their points?
I could do a little more.
Because we got 1:45 left for your rebuttal there, we got a short rebuttal time. Okay.
Okay. So as a former pot smoker and seeing what it did to my life, I can speak with credibility that legalizing weed is counterproductive towards people developing themselves as valuable individuals in our society. Legalizing marijuana to the point that people are smoking it on a continual basis would not be healthy for society. It's already bad enough that we're getting tobacco ads and alcohol ads shoved in our face every day. So another thing to touch on, brain development in teens, it definitely hinders your ability for critical thinking in school. It also definitely decreases your motivation. And what you choose to put in your body is your decision, but no one seems to have a problem of obtaining marijuana at all these days. We feel like the movement to legalize marijuana is an excuse for...
Okay. All right, just to remind you guys, when you do your rebuttal is either defending points that have been attacked or attacking their specific 3 main points. Remember that. That's what rebuttal is. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we have the Prime Minister's formal 4-minute long rebuttal.
So our lovely counterparts have talked about how avid smokers are not productive in society. Being an avid smoker, I smoke on a regular basis. I mean, I'm a full-time job, I go to school full-time, I actually have 3 different jobs, go to school full-time, you know, work at home, have a working relationship with my boyfriend, have a working relationship with my friends, see my parents all the time, make money. I am a productive person in society. Whether the drug is legal or not, people are gonna use it. People have used it since before time. It's the same thing with prohibition. If you wanted to hit alcohol points like you guys have been hitting and really talking about statistics of alcohol and tobacco, prohibition from alcohol still caused people to go out and drink it. Whether it's legal or not, people are gonna do it. There's no point in stopping it. And if it's legal, there's way less of a reason for there to be a black market. Same thing with prohibition, if you want to go back to alcohol like we were talking about. When there was prohibition, there was a black market for it. As soon as it became legal, there is no such thing as a black market really for alcohol, unless you talk about underage kids going to their older brothers and having them buy alcohol, which same thing, legal, it's still gonna happen no matter what. Let's see, same thing with brain development in high school. I smoked through high school too, and I'm still going to college full time. I still have an awesome GPA. It doesn't really necessarily affect your brain development. It's the person that you want to be too, and the same thing with control. If you want to go back to alcoholism, people have the ability to drink all the time, but it's the control that you have as a person if you want to drink or not. Same thing, you have to have the control as a person if you want to smoke or not. If it's legal, that doesn't mean you have to smoke it anyway too. If it's legal and you don't want to smoke it, don't smoke it. If it's legal and you do want to smoke, it's there for you to smoke, and the government makes money off of it also. So that's what I'm about.
For my rebuttal, I'm gonna go against your medical stuff because I had my gallbladder taken out because I was throwing up every day for like 5 years. Couldn't eat anything. They put me on all these pills, and my doctor asked me what helped the most, and I told him smoking weed because it settled my stomach down. I could eat everything. So, in the defense of that, like, marijuana is very helpful in the medical field. It helps with cancer. It helps with a lot of mental issues, like people who take Xanax and everything who are very high anxiety. They say marijuana will help your mind. So, in my belief, medical-wise, it's very helpful for people who have issues like that. So, well.
All right, real fast then. Anybody ever been to Colorado? Show hands. Colorado, Denver. Since they've legalized marijuana, you can actually just go anywhere. None of this drug cartel stuff that it's all shipped in from anywhere. Any of the shops, these guys grow it themselves in their backyard. So I mean, the fact that even a drug cartel comes into this means nothing. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
And it's all got to be packaged and like inspected thoroughly. There can't be any mold on it or anything in the shops. We're good.
Okay, you good? 4 minutes? Okay. All right, moving on. Our next is the 3